Hey, Bludgeon here. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to play Dune Imperium Uprising by going through a full playthrough of the digital version of the game on Steam. Now, this will help you learn to play whether you want to play digitally or in the tabletop. The rules are exactly the same. Dune Imperium Uprising is the standalone sequel to Dune Imperium, and they share a lot of the same DNA, a lot of the same mechanics and basic structures. So if you already are familiar with Dune Imperium and you just want to know what's different in Uprising, then I have a video for you that will take you through all of those differences. This video is designed to teach you the game from the very beginning. So if you have no experience with Dune Imperium and you're starting with Dune Imperium Uprising, that's totally great, and this is the video for you. If you want to learn how to play the original Dune Imperium, I've got a video on the channel for that as well as playthroughs to teach you how to play Rise of Ix and Immortality. All right, let's get right into the game. All right, here we are in the game. Now, before we get into the mechanics, I think it's important to understand a little bit about what's going on, like with the theme of this game or the story of the game. So Dune Imperium is based on the Dune novels, and the games are more themed after the Dune movies. So Dune and Dune Part 2. Uprising is more themed on Dune Part 2. But basically what's going on is this is the far, far future, like tens of thousands of years in the future, where humanity has spread across the galaxy, and it's ruled over by an emperor and an imperium. And there are various great houses, different kind of political factions that exist in the universe, and they're all sort of fighting for power and influence and resources and control. In the game, each player is someone from one of these great houses. You might be the leader of the great house, or you might be sort of an important person in there. And in this world, there's this planet called Arrakis, which is super important because this is a desert planet, and this is the only source of this mysterious substance called the spice, also known as melange. And the reason this is so important is in this future, there are no computers. Computers have been banned as dangerous thinking machines. And the only way to travel space faster than light is for the pilots of the spaceships to take this drug, the spice, which allows them to get visions of the future. And that means that as they're kind of deciding which way to go through space, they can get glimpses to see like, oh, actually, if I go this way, I'm going to crash into a star. Basically, that's what's going on. It also has other effects like prolonging life and whatever. But that's the reason that Arrakis is so important. That's the reason that everything is focused here. So in the story of the game right now, the Emperor has kind of taken control of Arrakis by installing his sort of lackeys, House Harkonnen. And House Atreides is kind of like they've been betrayed and they're trying to fight back. And anyways, there's sandworms that the good guys sort of use to fight the bad guys. And this is the Uprising in the name of the game. All right, so let's take a look at the board. This little orange thing here with the number, this represents spice, that thing I was talking about. So that comes from the deserts of Arrakis. The blue spaces here represent cities on Arrakis. The spaces over on the left here represent different factions in the universe. Up at the top, we've got the Emperor. We've got the Spacing Guild over here. They have a monopoly on space travel. If you want to travel through space, you need to use guild transportation, and they require spice in order to do it. You've got the Bene Gesserit here, which is like a mysterious sisterhood of women who have learned how to master genetics and breeding programs and how to take control over their own bodies in an extreme way to give them very strong fighting abilities. They can decide who is telling the truth. They can use their own voices to control people. And down here you have the Fremen who live in the deserts of Arrakis and have mastered how to survive in the harsh environments of the desert. They know how to fight better than anybody and how to survive. Okay, so that's kind of the theme of the board. Now, this is a game where, as I said, you are playing a member of one of these great houses, and your power is represented by victory points. And the game ends at the end of any round where a player has 10 or more victory points. We're all going to start with 1 victory point here in a 4-player game. If you're playing 3 players, everybody will start with 0. And so this is the end game condition. 10 points ends the game if anybody has that at the end of the round. The other end game condition is if we play through 10 rounds, then the game will end after 10 rounds, and whoever has the most points wins. All right, and so victory points can be achieved through different ways. You can see victory point symbols on the board that kind of give you clues as to where you can get them, and I'll give you the details of how that works in a moment. But I just want to give you that sense that this is a fight for victory points, and this is a very scrappy game. This is not a game where people are going to have like 139 points, and at the end of the game, you got to figure out how many points people have. Every point is really, really precious in this game, and it gives it this feeling of intensity and stress and drama that is one of the reasons the game has been so successful. Okay, so as a member of this great house, you know, you're a very important person, you're a very busy person, and you can't be running around, you know, all over the place accomplishing tasks yourself. And so what you're going to do is you're going to send agents out onto the board to do things for you. So this is a worker placement game, if you're familiar with that genre. And so beside each player here, you can see these two little figures. These are your agents. So every player starts with 2 agents. And on your turn, you're going to take one of your agents and you're going to send it out to a space on the board to gather resources or participate in combat or do something like that. And you send 1 per turn, the next person goes, and you kind of just go around the table until all the agents have been placed. So you can see that my opponents here, Lady Amber Matully and Lady Jessica, they've each already placed an agent. So we can see Amber here has a red agent on this Spice Refinery board, and Jessica has her green agent here on the Fremkit board. And it's my turn now. And so what I need to do is I need to send an agent to the board. Okay, so let's look at victory points. Let's start with this idea. How are we going to get a victory point? Okay, well, one of the ways you get victory points is by sending agents to the faction spaces, the left side of the board here, representing these factions. You gain influence with these powerful factions in the universe, and that's one of the ways you can accumulate victory points. So on the left side here, you can see there's a little victory point beside each faction, and what happens is, when you send an agent to a faction space, you gain an influence with that faction. So this little track here is called the influence track for each faction. And it measures how many times you visited them, more or less, and how much they like you. So Jessica, because she sent one of her agents to Fremkit, which is one of these Fremen board spaces, you can see that her little green marker has moved up 1. So she has 1 influence with the Fremen right now. Everybody else has 0. And as soon as you reach 2 influence, this little line with the victory point, you're going to get a victory point. So the next time Jessica gets a Fremen influence, her victory point thing will bump up. And everyone can get that, so that's there for everyone to get at the time that you can get your second influence. So basically there are 4 victory points in these faction tracks that you're going to try to get if you can. Now, if you ever drop below for some reason, and there are different ways that that can happen. No one can push you down, but there are a few ways that you have an option maybe to like pay an influence in order to get some bonus, to lose an influence to do something else. You're going to lose that victory point, okay? So it's there if you have it, but you're going to lose it if you drop down. All right, now what happens if you get a whole bunch more influence? So let's say that Jessica visits, just keeps sending agents to the Fremen spots. If you get to 4 influence here, then you're going to get this alliance. So this little circle here is called an alliance. And that represents that you are the one who has allied with this faction, and you're going to get another victory point. Now, the first person to cross that line will get the alliance. Only one person can have it. So it's different from this first victory point where everybody can have it. The alliance only belongs to one player. And if anyone ever passes you on that track, they're going to take it away. You're going to lose the point and they're going to gain the point. Also, if you ever drop, if you have the alliance, let's say, and you drop down below that 4th line, then you have to put the alliance back there and you're going to lose the point as well. Okay, so that's one of the places where you can get victory points. And all right, so let's do it. Let's say, you know what? I also want an influence somewhere. Let's look at this space up here, deliver supplies. This is a guild space, and this can give me water. So basically, when you send an agent to a space, you're going to get whatever it says in this big sort of picture on the right side of the space. That's the reward you're going to get. And I'm going to explain what they all do, but we'll start with this one. This is water. Water is very important on Arrakis because it's a desert planet. And so every bit of water is super valuable. Okay, so you know what? I want water. So I'm going to send an agent there. Okay, but how do you do it? All right, well, this is where the beauty of Dune Imperium comes into play, is it's a combination of a worker placement game and a card game. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a card to send an agent to a space. So here's my hand of cards. Okay, so this is a deck building game in the broad sense of, let's say, Dominion or Ascension or Clank, if you're familiar with that, which is the same designer as this game. Every player is going to start with 10 cards in their starting deck. And throughout the game, we're going to acquire more cards, which are over here. And I'll explain how that works when we get there. But for now, let's focus on how we send an agent to a space. Okay, so each board space on the left side of it, on the top left corner, has a symbol. And you need to play a card that has that symbol in order to send your agent there. So if you look at my diplomacy here, you can see it has that guild symbol. It's called an agent icon. So on the left side of my diplomacy, it shows me the agent icons that this card has, which means those are the different board spaces this card can send an agent to. Okay, so the diplomacy can send an agent to any faction space. You can go to Emperor, Guild, Bene Gesserit, or Fremen. All right, so I want to go get this water. So what I'm going to do is, in the digital game, I'm going to drag my card up there to this spot. And what's nice in the digital game is when you do that, it's going to highlight the spots you can go to. So you can see that the faction spots there are highlighted. Some of them are, because some of them cost resources. All right, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to let go, and boom. I now have a water. Now, I just want to show you something. So here's my water down here. Okay, so everyone starts with a water in this game. It's the only resource that people start with. And now I have 2. Now I'm going to undo this, because I want to show you something else that's important to note. What if I wanted to go to Fremkit as well, right? Jessica has an agent here, but I can't go there. Why can't I go there? The reason is you can't send an agent to a spot where somebody already has an agent. And that's true whether it's you're an opponent's agent or your own agent. So basically, if there is an agent there, it's considered occupied and you can't go there. So I can't go there, but I can go here. All right, so let's do it. I'm going to let my opponents take their turns here. So that just shows you how quick a turn can be. There's a lot of thinking involved, but essentially a turn is very simple. You send an agent to a board space. You do it by playing a card from your hand that matches the symbol of the space you want to go to. You send your agent there, and then you collect the rewards from that board space. All right, so let's look at what else has happened here. So if you can see, the faction spaces are very popular in this first round of the game. We can see that it's round 1 over here, it tells us. All right, so Jessica has sent both her agents to Fremen spots. So she went to Fremkit here, and she went to Desert Tactics, and you can see she now has 2 influence with the Fremen, and she now has 2 victory points. Fade Rotha here went to Secrets, the Bene Gesserit, and he has 1 Bene Gesserit influence. Okay, so I think we get that. Let's look at what some of these symbols mean. We've got this green symbol here on Fremkit. We've got the same symbol here on Espionage, on Research Station, on Arakeen, on Accept Contract. This means draw card. So the green symbol is just draw a card from the top of your deck. Okay, what else do we have here? All right, Desert Tactics is, it shows a troop. So this little cube is a troop. And this little card with an X is trash. So I'm going to explain troops in a second. Trash means you get to basically take one of the weak cards out of your deck. And so Jessica has been able to eliminate one of her junky cards. So if you look at her over here, she has trashed that Dune the Desert Planet. This Seek Allies has been trashed as well, because on the agent ability, it says trash this card. Okay, more on the agent abilities in a moment. But basically, it's nice to just get the junk out of your deck. So that's what that one does. All right, it's time for me to send my second agent. And I don't have any cards that can send me to faction spaces anymore. So I've got to look at this part of the board over here. All right, so if I look at this Dune the Desert Planet, it has only 1 agent icon, that yellow triangle. That's called a Spice Trade agent icon. So I could use that to go to these what are called maker spaces or desert spaces. This is basically where you get spice. Or I could go up to these what are called chome spaces, and this kind of represents the like economic union in the game, let's say. All right, well, you know, I think that it's time for us to learn about the conflict. So right here in the center of the board, this skirmish here, this is the first conflict of the game. So in every round of the game, you're going to flip over a conflict card, and that represents sort of the resources that are available to be contested by the players. And if we look at this card here, we can see that this conflict is going to give Solari. This little silver circle is one of the resources in the game, Solari. This just represents kind of the galactic currency in the game, and that's used to pay for different things. All right, so the first player is going to get 2 Solari. In other words, if you win, you're going to get 2. If you get second place in the conflict, you're going to get 3. And if you get third place, you're going to get 2. And that the numbers may seem weird there, and I'll explain why that is in a moment. But let's talk about how you actually participate in the conflict. Okay, so you can see these little cubes. These cubes represent troops. So if you want to participate in a conflict, you have to deploy troops into that conflict, and basically they're going to fight, and whoever has the strongest army in that conflict will win the conflict. So troops, when they're in the middle here, in this middle area, they are deployed, and they're going to give you strength. So Amber here has 1 troop cube in the conflict, and each cube is worth 2 strength. So this little 2 here shows that she has 2 strength right now. Jessica has 4 troops in the conflict, and so that's 8 strength. So if things were to end right now, Jessica would win first place, Amber would win second place, and nobody would get third place because we don't have anything in the conflict right now. You've got to have a troop, or a unit at least, in the conflict in order to be eligible for rewards. Okay, so how do you get troops into the conflict? Well, this little area to the bottom left here, this is called your garrison. So everybody starts with some troops in their garrison. So they're just kind of chilling in their base, you know, waiting to be sent out to battle. While they're in the garrison, they don't do anything. So even though I have 3 troops in my garrison, I have 0 strength in the conflict because they're not deployed, they're in my garrison. So I've got to somehow get them from the garrison into the conflict. So the way we can do that is we need to visit a combat space. Some spaces on the board are called combat spaces, and they have this little crossed swords icon in the bottom right. So if you look at Imperial Basin, all the spaces actually on Arrakis, these cities here, these maker spaces, they all have this little conflict symbol, or combat symbol. But if you look at the other ones up here, for example, they don't, okay? The faction spaces, most of them don't. This Hayliner space does have it. Both of the Fremen spaces do have it, although you can't really see them right now. And so if you want to deploy, you have to visit a combat space. So for example, let me send my Dune the Desert Planet here to, let me go to Haga Basin. Let me show you something here. Okay, so if I drag my thing here, I can go to Haga Basin. And what's going to happen is on the left, there is a cost to visit this space. So some spaces are free to visit. You just need to play a matching card and you're good. Other spaces cost you something to visit. Haga Basin here costs 1 water in order to go there. Now I have 2 water, so that's fine. I can do that. All right, so I can drag my thing here, and what's going to happen is I'm going to lose a water and I'm going to gain 2 spice. For now, ignore the rest of this stuff here. All right, so I visit here. You're going to see my water go down, and I can gain 2 spice. There's my spice. And now I have this little combat deploy symbol because that's a combat space. So in the digital game here, I click this. In the physical game, obviously, you don't do that. There's nothing to click. And now I can deploy troops. Bing, bing. Now I can only put in 2. So I had 3 in the garrison, but I can only put 2 in. Okay? And now I have 4 strength. So why is that? Well, the rule is when you visit a combat space, you can deploy up to 2 troops from your garrison. So I could deploy no troops from my garrison. Whoops. Okay, so that's what I did. I accidentally ended my turn there. I didn't mean to do that. But you can see there that that's an option. If you don't want to deploy, you don't have to. So my troops are just sitting there. All right. So we're going to see what's going to happen in this conflict. I'm not concerned about whether I win this game or not, by the way. I'm just going through the mechanics to show you how it works. We'll see how the results go. All right. It's my turn again, but I don't have any agents. So I have cards left, but I don't have any agents left. And that means I can't send any agents out onto the board. So what happens now is I go to my reveal turn. So when you're finished with your agent turns, you have a reveal turn. And what that means is the remaining cards in my hand, I'm going to put them face up on the table for everyone to see. And I'm going to then look at the bottoms of my cards. So the bottom of the card is that little blue area. And that's going to do something when you reveal the card. If you do that when you send it as an agent, like these cards here also had them, but I used them as agents. So you ignore the bottom part there. All right, so I'm going to reveal, and what's going to happen is I'm going to get some persuasion. That little blue number there is called persuasion, and that's what we're going to use to add new cards to our deck. The dagger is going to increase combat strength. So each dagger there, it's called actually a sword. The card is called dagger, but that little red symbol is called a sword. Each sword that you reveal adds 1 to your combat strength. But it only works if you actually have units in the conflict, and I don't. So when I reveal here, despite having this 1 sword on reveal, my combat strength is going to stay at 0 because I don't have anybody in the conflict to actually use the sword, I guess, thematically. All right, so I reveal, and now I have the opportunity to acquire cards. Okay, so on the left side of the board here are cards that I can acquire. In the physical game, you can set it up, wherever you want. And let's look at these 2 cards here on the left. So the Spice Must Flow and Prepare the Way. These are supply cards, and there's just a stack of them. Okay, so there's 10 copies of the Spice Must Flow. You can see there at the bottom it says 10. There are 8 copies of Prepare the Way. And so these are just kind of always there. They're sort of your standard cards that are available. The 5 cards over here are called the Imperium row. And these cards come from a big deck of cards that get shuffled up every game. They're mostly unique. There are multiple copies of some of them in the deck, but this is what's going to give each game variety, is different cards are going to be available. Okay, now if I want to acquire a card, I have to pay the persuasion cost, and the persuasion is at the top right there. So for example, Corinth City here costs 6 persuasion. I only have 2. All right, so my options here is I could take this Unswerving Loyalty, or I could take this Prepare the Way. Okay, I guess I'm going to take Prepare the Way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it over here. That's how I'm going to do it. And what's going to happen is this is going to go into my discard pile. Okay, so I've got my deck and I've got my discard pile. So when you acquire a new card, you don't get to use it right away. It's going to get put into your discard pile, which will be reshuffled later. All right, so I'm going to take this, put it here, and here it is in my discard pile. And that's it. I've got nothing else to do, no more persuasion, and so I'm going to end turn. Before I do, though, I want to explain now why why first place is only 2 Solari, but second place is 3. Well, see this little desert mouse here? This is part of the reward that you're going to win. So it's not just 2 Solari, it's actually 2 Solari plus this desert mouse battle icon. So everybody in the game starts with a battle icon. So I've got a Chris knife, Jessica has a Chris knife, Fade Rotha and Lady Amber each have a desert mouse. In a 4-player game, it's always going to be 2 desert mice and 2 Chris knives. Okay. The purpose of that is if you ever match 2 symbols together, you're going to get a victory point. All right, so Jessica looks like she's going to win this, and she's going to get this desert mouse battle icon. Now, that doesn't match because she has a Chris knife. So after this, we're going to see that she's going to have 2 different symbols here. She's going to have this Chris knife, she's going to have the desert icon, or the desert mouse icon. They're just going to be sitting there. All right, so this would have been a great one for Fade Rotha to win or for Amber to win because that would have converted into a victory point. But, you can't win them all. Back over here to Spice Must Flow for a second. So I want to talk about this because look at the cost. 9 persuasion for this. That's a lot. I only had 2. But I want to point it out because this is one of the other ways to get victory points in the game. So buying cards that give you more and more persuasion can help you eventually buy the Spice Must Flow. And when you buy the Spice Must Flow, you immediately gain a victory point. That's what that little symbol up there means. Okay, more on that when it gets actually time to buy it, but just to give you an idea, that's another place to get victory points. So right now, we're aware of 3. 1 comes from the factions, either from getting to 2 influence and or getting an alliance. Another one can come from matching battle icons, and another one can come from buying Spice Must Flow. All right, so let's end turn here and let's see what happens in this conflict. So Fade reveals a sword here, so his combat strength goes up to 3. And so Jessica's going to get first, Fade Rotha is going to get second, Amber is going to get third, and we're going to see their Solari go up appropriately. There we go. So we can see she's going to get that battle icon and 2 Solari, and there we go. All right, so we're now into round 2. At the start of the round, you flip over a new conflict card, and that's going to be random as well. So each game is going to have different conflicts. That's going to shake up the way the game plays out. All right, it's my turn here. And so the turn, a different player will go first in each round. So you see this little first player token. There's like a little sandworm. It's very hard to see here. It's very small. In the physical game, you have a little sandworm token. And a player is going to start with that token, and that player is going to go first in round 1. In the next round, it's going to be passed clockwise, and then that player will go first, and so on and so forth. So this round, I'm going second. Last round, I went third. Next round, I'm going to go first. All right, and the way that that's determined, by the way, is in Uprising, you're going to shuffle up a little deck of these battle icon cards, and one of them has the little symbol on it. That's going to tell you who the first player is. All right, so Jessica has gone to this space, Siege Tabor, and we'll talk about what that does exactly later, but it's my turn right now. I've got Reconnaissance. This card can take me to a city. So I could go here. I could go here. I can't go to Research Station. Why is that? Because this costs 2 water, and I only have 1. Okay, Seek Allies could take me to any of these faction spots, but not any of them because some of them have a cost, right? But I could go to any of the ones that I can afford. All right, a dagger could be played up to any of these spots. All right, well, let's see here. What can we do? All right, you know what? I think that I want some Solari. I feel bad that I missed out on the Solari in that conflict because I forgot to deploy my troops. And so let's take a look at this spot here called Spice Refinery. Spice Refinery allows you to get Solari, and you're either going to get 2 Solari or 4 Solari. It depends on whether or not you want to pay a spice. I have 2 spice on me, and so what I could do is I could send my reconnaissance here to Spice Refinery. Now, notice that the cost of Spice Refinery is a question mark. The cost is either 0 or 1 spice, and so I have to pay that cost first, and then the effect of the board space is it's going to give me Solari based on what I paid when I visited the spot. So it's basically going to be 2 Solari or 4. So let me go here, and I choose here to pay 0 or 1. I'm going to pay 1 Solari, or sorry, I'm going to pay 1 spice, and I'm going to get 4 Solari. Okay, so that's been done. And because this is a combat space, I'm able to deploy troops if I want to. Let's do it just to show you how that works. Okay, so 2 troops are in. Again, 2 is the maximum I can deploy from my garrison, so that's that. Press confirm. And end turn. There are a lot of things to explain in this game, all right? So we're going to go through them bit by bit. There's still spies, there's still contracts, there's still worms, there's still the leaders. But I want to kind of do it in a digestible way as we go. So don't worry if there's things happening that you don't quite understand. Just focus on the things that we're getting as we go. All right, so my opponents have made their moves. They've sent their agents to various places on the board, and it's back to me. So I could play the dagger. The only spot I could send it to would be this gather support, which works similar to Spice Refinery. You choose to either pay 0 Solari or 2. If you pay 0, then you get 2 troops. If you pay 1, or if you pay 2, then you get 2 troops and a water. Or I could play Seek Allies. Okay, well, you know, I think I want to try to win this conflict, because this has a battle icon that would be good for me. All right, so I'm going to send my Seek Allies here to, what's this place called? Desert Tactics. It costs a water to go there, but I have a water, so I can do it. And the effect of the space is it's going to allow me to trash a card, and it's going to give me a troop. All right, so trashing a card means I can choose a card either from my discard pile, or from my hand, or from the cards that I've played so far this round. And I just take it, and it just like disappears. You know, you put it back in the box, and you're never going to see it again this game. So that's nice because it allows me to get rid of kind of the weaker cards in my deck. It's also going to give me a troop. All right, so let's do this, and I'm going to show you what happens here. So my Seek Allies goes there. I get my 1 Fremen influence here. I've paid my water. And here's the trash effect. Okay, so let me click on that. So I can choose a card in my discard pile, I can choose a card in my play area, or I can choose a card in my hand. Usually, if you can, it's better to trash cards from your discard pile or play area because they're not doing anything, whereas cards in your hand, you might still want to reveal and get some effect. But anyway, this time let's do that. Okay, I'm going to trash this dagger. Generally speaking, the dagger is the weakest card in your deck. Not always, but generally speaking. So I'm going to get rid of this dagger. I'm going to drag it down here, and it is now gone. Okay. Now, this is also a combat space, and so I can deploy my troops here. So I can deploy 2 from my garrison, but I also can deploy any troops that I gain this turn from whatever source. So Desert Tactics here gave me a troop, so that means I can also throw that troop into the conflict. And so now I can actually deploy up to 3 troops. Okay, well, I don't actually have 3 troops because I depleted my garrison a little bit earlier. But I'm going to throw in that troop and the one that was there in my garrison. They're both going to go in. All right, before I do that, I also want to take a look at Seek Allies here. So far, I should say, the cards that we played a Dune the Desert Planet, we played a Reconnaissance, we played a Diplomacy. They've had just this empty box here, this agent box, this gray beige box is called the agent box. But some cards actually have something written in there. So Seek Allies has an effect written in the agent box, and that says trash this card. So whenever you play a card as an agent, you're going to also do whatever it says in the agent box. So this card is going to trash itself, okay? In other words, Seek Allies is just a one-time use card. When you play it, it's going to go away. So right now it's still sitting in my play area, but in a moment it's going to disappear because of that effect. All right, so let's deploy. I'm going to throw in 2 troops here. That's going to put my strength up to 8. And the Seek Allies is going to go away as soon as I click end turn. Gone. It's over here in my trash area. We can see our opponents playing their cards. Okay, so before I reveal, let's talk about a few things. So one, I have 2 convincing arguments in my hand. Notice that these don't have agent icons. So these cards can never be played to send agents, but they're good to reveal because they give you 2 persuasion each. It's a very convincing argument. It's easier to persuade people. Okay, so once I click reveal, I'm gonna have 4 persuasion there. And this dagger this time is actually gonna do something. That 1 sword is gonna boost me up to 9, which might help me because right now Fade Ratha and I are tied in the conflict. Okay. it's time now to talk about the leaders. So each leader has their own different abilities. So this is a very interesting part of Dune, is that there's asymmetry depending on what leader everyone is playing. So let's take a look at Gurney Halleck here. And let's look at his ability called Always Smiling. So Gurney says, during your reveal turn, which is, about to happen, if you have 6 or more strength in the conflict, get 1 persuasion. So I have 8 strength in the conflict. So when I hit reveal, it'll actually be 9. That's going to satisfy that ability, and it's going to give me an extra persuasion, which is going to bump me up to 5. Up here is like a little preview of your persuasion. All right, so I'm going to click reveal. And you can see now my persuasion is 5, and you can also see my combat strength is 9. All right, so I've got a lot more options now in terms of cards to add. So I could take 2 Prepare the Ways, for example. You can buy as many cards as you can afford. So, some games like Dominion, you can only buy 1. Dune Imperium is not like that. You can just, as long as you still have persuasion, you can spend it. So I could buy some combination of cards here. And as soon as a card gets purchased from the Imperium row, it immediately gets replaced with another one. Okay. I'm going to buy this Guild Spy here. Guild Spy costs 3 persuasion, and that's good because I have 5. And I'm going to buy this card because this is going to help us learn about one of the other mechanics in Dune Imperium, which is spies. I'm not going to fully explain it yet, but one thing I want to tell you right now is when you buy a card, if there's ever that little thing, that little arrow below the cost with something there, that means you get that effect when you buy the card. Like Spice Must Flow we talked about, when you buy the card, you get a victory point. Guild Spy, when you buy the card, you're going to get a spy to place onto the board. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and what's going to happen here is it's going to ask me to place a spy. So spies, each person has 3 spies in their supply. In the physical game, you got 3 little wooden tokens, and spies go on these little observation posts. And so each faction has 1 spy that connects to both of their spaces. The cities are connected by spies. So each observation post, generally speaking, is connected to more than 1 space. However, the maker spaces here each have their own. All right, I'm not going to tell you what spies do just yet because I want to focus still on what's happening with this conflict. But for now, I'm going to place a spy here on the Fremen observation post. Okay, I have 2 persuasion left. So what can I do with it? Well, I could buy another Prepare the Way, or I could buy a Hidden Missive, or I could buy an Unswerving Loyalty. What am I in the mood for? I'm going to take this Unswerving Loyalty. Okay, it costs 1. Let's drag it over here. It goes into my discard pile, it gets replaced, and that's it. I have 1 persuasion left, but there's no cards that cost 1, so I can't get anything else, and this is just going to disappear. All right, so I'm going to end turn, and then we're going to see about Feyd-Rautha. Is he going to get more strength? Does he have daggers in his hand he's about to reveal? Let's see. Oh, he has 2 swords in hand. So this is part of the drama of the game, is you never know exactly what someone's strength is because you don't know if they have daggers in their hand or not. Sometimes you can kind of know or guess, but it's part of the fun of the suspense. All right, so unfortunately for me, Feyd-Rautha is going to win this conflict. So we'll talk about these rewards here. All right, so he's going to get that battle icon. He's going to place a spy, just like I placed a spy just now. He's going to get 2 spice, and he's going to get control of Spice Refinery. So this little flag icon sees Spice Refinery as the name of the conflict. Because he won that conflict, he gets to place his flag on the Spice Refinery. So you can see here there's a little blue flag here now. That's because Feyd-Rautha is blue. And these 3 spots here, Spice Refinery, Arakeen, and Imperial Basin, they have flags on them, which means they can be controlled if somebody wins the corresponding conflict. So for example, this conflict, Secure Imperial Basin, has a similar kind of thing. Whoever wins this will get to take control of Imperial Basin, placing their flag there. And basically what it means is anytime anybody visits that spot, if you have your flag there, you're going to get the little bonus on it. So the cities, the Arakeen and Spice Refinery spots, the flag means Solari. So if I were to go to Spice Refinery right now, Fade Rotha would get a Solari. I don't have to pay him the Solari, it just comes from the supply, okay? But he's going to collect Solari anytime anybody visits that space, including him. So it's a really nice thing if you can get there early. The Imperial Basin one is going to give you a spice anytime somebody visits that spot. Okay, so we can see Fade Rotha got that combat icon, so nobody has matched one of these things yet. Now, speaking of Imperial Basin, let's take a look at it. Look at this spice here. There's 3 spice sitting on this spot now. Why is that? Well, the way that these maker spots work is they have their base value of spice that you get. So Imperial Basin, when you go there, it's going to give you a spice. Haga Basin is going to give you 2 spice. Deep Desert is going to give you 4 spice. But there's this mechanic where if nobody goes to that spot in a round, then spice is going to build up. So at the end of the round, if no one has an agent on Imperial Basin, then a little spice gets added onto this little box on the right. And if nobody goes there again, another one will be added. And spice will just keep getting added every round that there's no agent there until eventually somebody goes there. And so I'm going to go there now to show you how that works. Because that's also like 3 spice is a nice little grab. And if I don't do it, somebody else will. Okay, so I'm going to send my Signet Ring. So here's the other aspect of leaders. Each leader has a different ability. So I talked about this always smiling. If I have 6 or more strength in the conflict, I get a persuasion. But each leader also has a different Signet Ring. So every leader has 1 Signet Ring in their deck. And what's cool about the Signet Ring, first of all, is it has 3 agent icons. So it's flexible. It can take you to city spaces. It can take you to spice trade spaces, and it can take you to Landsraad spaces, which we haven't talked about. Those are those green spaces up here. They sort of represent the like galactic UN, let's say. So it's flexible in terms of agent, but as its agent ability, it's actually different for each leader, which is cool. Okay, so Gurney's agent ability is it generates a troop, which is a really nice thing. Okay, so I'm going to send my ring over here to Imperial Basin. I'm going to get 3 spice. It's going to generate a troop. And I can deploy those troops to the conflict if I want. But you know what? I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't think I'm going to do it because I don't feel great that I'm going to win this conflict. So I'm going to hold my troops for now. Maybe in my next agent I'll rethink it, but I'm going to hold them back for the moment. Okay, so I have this thing, I can deploy troops if I want, but I'm just not going to. Now, what is going on over here? Well, this is called an Intrigue card. Okay, so Intrigue cards are sort of surprise cards that are going to spice up the game and create more mystery and stress and excitement. So Intrigue cards, if you look at secrets here, that shows you the back of an Intrigue card. And there's a whole deck of Intrigue cards, and they all do different things. And these are going to be secret cards that you have. So when I got second place in the last conflict here, my reward was I got an Intrigue card, I got a spice, and a troop into my garrison. So this is the Intrigue card that I got. And Intrigue cards are going to do all kinds of different things. They might help you get resources. They might help you win conflicts. They might even help you get extra victory points. So if we look at this one, there's different colors of Intrigue cards. This is a plot card, this sort of brown one, and it says plot on the bottom. Plot cards can be played anytime on your turn. And this one says, if you gained spice this turn, gain a contract and a Solari. Okay, so right now we're learning about Intrigue cards, and we're going to learn about contracts. So I gained spice from Imperial Basin, which means I can play this. Okay, so if I want to play it, I just play it. I just tell everybody, all right, I'm going to play my leverage Intrigue card. So let's do that. We're going to see I'm going to get up to 5 Solari. And the contracts are a really interesting mechanic in Dune Imperium Uprising. Basically what it is a sort of quest, if you want to think about it like that. Up at the top right here, there are 2 contract tiles. In the physical game, you're going to have a stack of these contract tiles. You're going to shuffle them up, and 2 are always going to be face up. When you activate this contract symbol, which is that little red thing, you're going to choose one of the available contracts, and you're going to add it to your supply, your player area. And it's not going to do anything immediately, but what it does is it's going to give you a goal. And if you accomplish that goal, you're going to get a reward. So for example, Research Station. This contract means in the future, if I visit Research Station, then I will have completed this contract and I will get 3 Solari. And at that point, I'll just flip the contract upside down and it's done. This one delivers supplies. When I visit this deliver supply spot over here, I'll get 3 Solari. Okay, so I choose one of these. I think I'm going to choose deliver supplies. So let me take that. That gets added to my supply, and in the digital game here, you can see this little icon here shows me I have 1 open contract and no completed contracts. And the contracts, like the Imperium cards, immediately get replaced with a new one as soon as one is taken. All right, so I'm gonna have to keep an eye on trying to get to deliver supplies. And what's cool about the digital game is it shows you this little symbol that reminds me that I have a contract to go to that spot. It's a really, really nice touch. Okay, so again, do I want to deploy? I'm a little scared to deploy right now, so I'm just going to hold off and I'm going to end my turn. There we go. People are playing their abilities here. I'm not going to show you what the other leaders do just yet because we're focused at the moment. Okay, something just happened, which is the shield wall was just broken. Okay, this is related to worms, and I don't want to talk about the worms just yet because I don't think we're going to see any worms this round. What I want to focus on is my guild spy here. So when I bought the guild spy, I placed a spy on this observation post. So now I want to tell you what spies do. When you have a spy on an observation post, it gives you 2 options. Number 1, it allows you to infiltrate to those spaces. Remember at the start of the game, I said you can't send an agent to an occupied space. So for example, you know, I can't go to Imperial Basin because I've got an agent there. I can't go to Haga Basin because an enemy has an agent there. Also, I don't have water. But even if I had water, I couldn't go to Haga Basin because it's occupied. Spies allow you to get around that. They allow you to get around your opponent's spies. So I can't get around my own agent. Like even if I had a spy here, I still couldn't go to Imperial Basin because that's my own guy. But if I had a spy on Haga Basin, I would be able, if I wanted to sneak in there by recalling my spy off the board. Okay, but I don't have a spy there. I have a spy here. And there are no enemy agents there, so what the hell is the spy doing? Well, what the spy does is it has an alternative effect, which is called Gather Intelligence. When you visit a space that has one of your spies, if it's unoccupied, if you want to, you can recall your spy to draw a card. So spies basically do 2 things. They either let you get into occupied spaces, or they let you draw an extra card. In either case, your spy is going to come back into your supply. Okay, so that's nice, but how do I actually get here? Because I don't have any agents that have a Fremen agent icon on them, right? Dagger doesn't have it, Reconnaissance doesn't have it, Guild Spy doesn't have it, Dune the Desert Planet doesn't have it, and yet Fremkit here is highlighted as if I can go there. What's going on here? Let's take a look at Guild Spy. What is this weird little agent icon on the Guild Spy? This is called a spy agent icon. And what that means is you can use this card to send an agent to any space that you are spying on. In other words, any space connected to one of your spies. So, Guild Spy at the moment could take me to Fremkit because I have a spy connected to Fremkit there. It can't take me to anywhere else on the board because I don't have spies anywhere else on the board. I can't go to Desert Tactics because I don't have a water to pay for it. But I could go to Fremkit. So let's show you how that works. All right, so I'm going to send my Guild Spy over here to Fremkit. And what's going to happen is it's going to ask me if I want to recall my spy to draw a card. I don't have to. I can just leave my spy there if I want. But I think I want to gather intelligence. I'm going to draw a card because, you know, why not? Okay, now that's a decision I have to make before I make any other decisions. So notice that Fremkit here has the draw card as an effect of the board space, but I have to decide if I'm recalling my spy before I draw that card. So I can't draw the card from Fremkit, see if I'm happy with it, and then decide whether or not to recall my spy to gather intelligence. This has to be decided first. So I'm going to do it. Let's recall. That's going to draw me one. Then I'm going to get the card draw from Fremkit. Okay, so what is going on here? Well, that's because there's actually a bunch of effects being triggered at the same time. So in Dune Imperium, when you go to a board space, you pay for the space, you decide if you're going to gather intelligence, then you activate whatever effects are on your board space. You also activate whatever effects are on your card. You also activate the ability to deploy troops if you visit a combat space. And those kinds of effects can be activated by you in whatever order you want. Okay, so one thing is I visited a faction space and that gives me influence. And that's actually a thing you can decide when you want to do. And sometimes it matters the order of these things. In this case, I'm happy to just take my Fremen influence first. So I'm going to go up. That's going to get me the victory point there. And I get up to 2, my first victory point in the game that wasn't just given to me from starting the game. Okay. Now, here is my card draw ability from the Fremkit itself. So what is this? Well, this is my Guild Spy's agent ability. So Guild Spy's agent ability is you can discard a card from your hand in order to draw a card. Ignore the part on the right for now. Just focus on the discard to draw a card. So that little red card symbol with the down arrow, that means discard a card from your hand. The green, as we've talked about before, means draw a card from your deck. But I don't have to do this, okay? So anytime there's an effect where there's something and then a little white arrow and then something, that means it's a cost to pay in order to get an effect, and those are always optional. If you don't want to pay the cost, you don't have to pay the cost. And then, of course, you don't get the effect. So I have to choose, do I want to discard a card in order to draw a card here? Well, I think it helps if I know more about what my cards are. So let me choose the Arakeen draw first. Oh, I got to prepare the way. Okay, so now I'm looking at 5 persuasion. If I discard my dagger, I might get lucky and draw a convincing argument. I actually have a 50-50 chance to do that. That would get me to 7 persuasion, and maybe I could buy this cool card up here. So let me do it. Let's discard this dagger, see what I get. Okay, I didn't hit the convincing argument. Instead, I got this unswerving loyalty, but that's okay. We'll talk about that in a second. All right, and now my decision is, do I want to deploy or not? But first, let's take a look back at the Guild Spy. So discard a card to draw a card, and then it says, if you discarded a Spacing Guild card, get an Intrigue card. So notice the top of Guild Spy, it says Spacing Guild. A lot of cards have this kind of what's called a faction tag. So this is a Spacing Guild card, Prepare the Way is a Bene Gesserit card, Unswerving Loyalty is a Fremen card, and there's one more faction in the game, which is Emperor, and we don't see that on any cards at the moment. Unfortunately, the dagger that I discarded doesn't have any faction tags, and so that doesn't satisfy the Guild Spy. I don't get an Intrigue card. Okay, fine. All right, let's re-look at this idea of, do I want to deploy any troops? Well, at the moment, Amber is looking like she's going to win, and I can't compete with that because I'm only going to have 4 strength. But second place would be good. 2 water and a troop. I'd get like a refund on one of my troops. That seems pretty decent to me. Unfortunately, it's only 4 strength, right? I can't get that always smiling extra persuasion, which I would love because then I'd be able to get this, but you can't always get what you want. Okay, let's look at the unswerving loyalty. This has a reveal, which says 1 persuasion and 1 troop. So this is actually going to give me another troop when I reveal, but I can't actually deploy that troop. We'll look at the rest of it. Well, we'll look at it right now. This Fremen Bond, means if I have any other Fremen cards in play, then it triggers Fremen Bond. But I don't have any other Fremen cards, so we can ignore that. Okay, so you know what? I am going to deploy troops right now because I think there's a decent chance that I get second. And even if I only get third, I'm going to get one of the troops back and a water, which seems good to me. So we'll do that. We'll confirm, and we'll end turn. Okay, Feyd-Rautha went to Arakeen. He put in 1 troop. Amber went to Secrets. Jessica goes to deliver supplies. Okay, so this is looking pretty good for second because Jessica doesn't have anything in the conflict, so I'm guaranteed at least third, and maybe I end up getting second. We'll see. We'll see. I suspect that Feyd-Rautha is going to come out on top there once again. All right, so it's time for me to reveal, and what's going to happen is I'm going to get everything in the reveal box of these cards. So I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 persuasion, as we can see in the preview. And I'm also going to get a troop added into my garrison from the Unswerving Loyalty. But I won't have the Fremen Bond, so I can't do that secret deploy or retreat thing. Okay, so let's reveal. There's my troop from that card. And I have 6 persuasion to spend. All right, let's take a look here. Unfortunately, can't afford this. This hidden missive has an agent box that says if I have 2 Bene Gesserit influence, then I get a troop and a card. I currently have no Bene Gesserit influence, so I think I'm going to skip that. Rebel Supplier here. This is interesting to me for a couple of reasons. Number one, it is a Fremen card, so that could combo with that card I just showed you. Also, it has this ability, if you recall the spy this turn, generate 2 troops. That can be really nice. Also, it reveals for Spice, and Spice is good, so I'm considering that. Let's look at Smuggler's Harvester. That's a Spacing Guild card, so that could be discarded to my guild spy and get that Intrigue card bonus. And the agent box says if you send an agent to a maker board space this turn, get a spice. The maker spaces are these 3. So that's like an interesting little spice generator. We've also got this card, Maker Keeper. By the way, Maker is another way of referring to the Sandworms, and they're called that sort of reverently by the Fremen because the worms are actually where the spice comes from. Okay, so he has 2 faction types, Bene Gesserit and Fremen. He can go to cities, and he gives me spice if I have Fremen influence when I play him. I do have that. He gives me water if I have Bene Gesserit influence. I don't have that. Well, I'm going to start with this guy, and let's see what pops up. I'll have 4 persuasion left. Ooh, don't have enough for this. Don't have enough for that. Rebel Supplier. Let's take it. We'll get the more Fremen cards into the deck. We'll see how it goes. And you know what? Let's take the Smuggler's Harvester as well. Let's just add a bunch of cards into the deck and see how we go. All right, end turn. Feyd-Rautha reveals 1 sword. And okay, Devious Strength is happening. So it's time to take a look at Feyd-Rautha to see how he just got that 5 strength. We'll wait until everyone finishes their reveal, and then we'll figure out what happened there. Looks like Amber's going to win. Now, let's take a look. That is a battle icon. So we're going to see those 2 Desert Mouse icons match, and she's going to get up to 3 victory points. She's also going to get 2 spice, a troop, and she's going to get control of Imperial Basin. All right. So I'm going to get 3rd, a water, and a troop. I don't feel too bad. I would have loved the extra water, of course, but it is what it is, and it's a pretty good return on the 2 troop investment, I think. Okay, so there we can see her battle icons matched. She got up to 3 points. And we're on to the next round. I'm going to be acting last this round because the first player marker moved. I'm going to let them go and play their turns, and then I'm going to look at Feyd-Rautha and show you how it is that he beat me in that conflict. All right, so let's take a look at Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen. So his ability here is called Devious Strength. On his reveal turn, he can recall a spy to get 2 combat strength. So this little recall a spy symbol is something you're going to see on various effects in the game. Basically, it allows you to use your spies as a resource. So I talked about spies allowing you to infiltrate to a board space or gather intelligence, which means draw a card. But this means you can take a spy off for some other effect. In this case, he can just get 2 strength when he reveals, And that's what he did. He had a sword in hand, and then he also got 2 extra swords from that effect, and that's how he got his strength. All right, it's over to me. And I have Diplomacy, Rebel Supplier, and Signet Ring. Well, this is interesting. This is interesting. How do I want to handle this? All right. Well, you know what? I think it might be time to talk about Sandworms, because they're going to start coming into play here. I'm surprised they didn't just now, but Sandworms are a big deal in the story of Dune, and they're a really big deal here in Dune Imperium Uprising. So far, we've talked about troops in conflicts. Amber has a troop in the conflict. It's worth 2 strength. Worms are worth 3 strength, but in order to get a worm, you need to have maker hooks. So if we look at Siege Tabber here, this little hook icon, if you go to Siege Tabber, you can take maker hooks, a troop, and a water. And that's going to allow you to summon Sandworms. Now, in order to go to Siege Tabber, you need to have 2 Fremen influence here. Okay? And I do have that. That means I can go to Siege Tabber. And so I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do it because this is going to be important in the game, and we're going to need to learn how worms work. All right, so I'm going to send my Signet Ring here. And I can choose the top or the bottom. The top one gives me hooks, a troop, and a water. The second one gives me a water and blows up the shield wall. That's already been blown up, and I'll talk about what that does in a second. But anyway, I don't want that one. I want this one. So I'm going to take this, and it's going to put a little hook on my icon here, just like Jessica already has. All right, this means I now have the ability to summon Sandworms. And in the story, the way that works is, in order to control a Sandworm, you've got to get up on its back and use these hooks to kind of wedge apart their large worm segments. Because the outside of a Sandworm is super tough, and it can handle the abrasion of swimming through sand. But the inside of those ridges are soft and vulnerable flesh. And so if you wedge open those things, the Sandworm won't dive beneath the sand, and you can kind of control it and you can steer it. Because if you wedge open like the side, then it's going to roll to put that part as far away from the sand as it can. That's the theme of it. I have maker hooks. Jessica has maker hooks. That means we have the ability to summon worms. And the way that you summon a worm is from either Haga Basin or from Deep Desert. So before, I was talking about Haga Basin as a place where you can get spice, but it's also a place where you can summon a sandworm if you have hooks. So you choose to either take the spice or use your hook to summon a worm. Okay, I can't do it right now, so we'll leave it at that. I have to decide whether I want to deploy any troops. And here's a question for you. How many troops can I deploy right now? Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 4? It's 4. The reason is I had 2 troops in my garrison, and I visited a combat space, so I can deploy up to 2 troops from my garrison. But I also generated 2 troops. I generated 1 from Siege Tabber, and I generated 1 from my Signet Ring. And any troops you gain during a turn you visit a combat space can also be deployed. So I could deploy up to 4 troops here, and I'm going to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I really hope I can win this conflict. Because, first of all, that's a Chris Knife battle icon, which would give me a victory point, a match. The first place reward here is 1 influence of my choice. That symbol is influence, and the question mark means I can choose which one. So I could go up with Freeman, Bene Gesserit, Guild, or Emperor. So that's a very good thing to get. The next part is I can pay, assuming I win the conflict, I can pay 3 spice to get a victory point. Okay, so we can see that victory points also can actually come from conflict rewards. So victory points come from the factions, they come from Spice Must Flow, they come from battle icons, and sometimes they just straight up come from winning a conflict. All right, so those are all deployed, and let's see what everybody else does. Rotha goes to accept contract up here. Amber goes to deliver supplies. Jessica goes to Arakeen. Okay. So I've got one agent left. Looks like I am going to win this conflict. And I'm going to play my diplomacy, I think. Where do I want to go? Well, you know, I think I'm good in the conflict. No one else has any agents left, so that should be good enough to win right there. I don't think I have to go to, you know, put more troops in. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to visit espionage. So espionage costs 1 spice. I've got 5, so I'm good there. It's going to draw me a card, and it's going to let me place a spy. And I kind of want to place a spy for a couple of reasons. I've got this guild spy that can go to spy spaces. I've got this rebel supplier that wants me to recall spies. So it feels like I should probably get a spy onto the board. So let me do this. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, that's going to draw. I drew that card, and now I can place a spy. All right, well, if I want the rebel supplier to actually do something, maybe let's put it here. I'm going to put it here because I think I might want to get some more Solari at some point. All right, so my spy is there. My turn is over. But I'm happy I drew this because that's 2 persuasion on reveal. Currently, it's showing I have 6 persuasion on reveal, but I'm Gurney Halleck, and my Always Smiling is going to activate. If you have 6 or more strength, get a persuasion. So that's going to bump me up to 7, and I might be able to buy this interstellar trade. Okay, so we're going to see that jump up to 7 when I reveal. All right. And, ooh, actually, I could get this Long Live the Fighters. This looks pretty exciting. It has Fremen as an agent icon. It also has City. And this cool agent effect, if your deck has 3 or more cards, look at the top 3 cards, draw 1, discard 1, trash 1, and then the reveal is 2 persuasion and 3 swords, which is really great. So you know what? We're going to go with this, actually. So we're going to take this. It's going to go into my discard pile. And, you know, I'm not going to draw it for a while because I currently have 8 cards in my deck. And I haven't talked about how that works. Let me do that right now. Basically what happens is, at the end of every round, you're going to take all the cards you revealed, or all the cards you played, and they're going to go into your discard pile, and then you're going to draw 5 cards from your deck. If ever you need to draw a card from your deck, but there are no cards in your deck, then what you do is you take your discard pile, first of all, you draw whatever cards you can from your deck first, then when you need to draw another card and you can't, you take your discard pile, you shuffle it up, and that is now your deck. Okay, so right now I have 8 cards still in my deck, so it's going to be kind of a couple of rounds probably before I ever see that guy, but we'll look forward to that time when it comes. All right, so no one has any agents, so everyone is already revealed as well. Now there are intrigue cards on the players. You can see Fade Rotha has 2, Amber has 2, Jessica has 3, and some intrigue cards are actually combat intrigues. They're red, and they allow you to play them to get extra combat strength. Now, Fade Rotha is not in the conflict, so he can't play combat intrigues. That's a rule. But Amber and Jessica are. So I'm a little bit worried that I might still end up losing this conflict. But if I win, we're going to see a bunch of things happen. We're going to see my battle icon match. It's going to give me a victory point. I'm going to choose an influence to gain, and I'm going to be able to pay 3 spice for a victory point. So let's see what happens. Okay, Amber passes. She doesn't play an intrigue. Oh, no. Jessica plays 1, gets up to 8 strength. Does she have another one? No? Okay, so she played that just to get second, I guess. That scared me. That freaked me out. All right, so I win the conflict. And we're going to do all the things we just talked about. So my battle icon matches, and I get a victory point. I get to choose a faction to gain an influence with. Let's see. What do I want to do? I'm kind of thinking of going with the Fremen here and trying to get that alliance. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to pay for my victory point. And there we go. So that was a really great conflict for me to win. All right, Test of Loyalty is the new conflict, and you can see that the battle icon here is different. This is an Ornithopter. Nobody starts with an Ornithopter icon, and so you kind of have to win 2 of those in order to get a point. This card is making me wish I had taken Bene Gesserit Influence instead of Fremen Influence. I forgot this was in my deck. This guy, when I play him, he gives me a water if I have 2 Bene Gesserit Influence. So that would have been really nice. I'm going to get a Spice, though, because of the Fremen Influence. Okay, what do I want to do here? What do I want to do here? I've got kind of limited options. These are the 3 cards in my deck. Now, you might say, wait, you can look at the cards in your deck? So this is not showing me the order of the cards in my deck. It's just showing me what's there. And that's because in the physical game, you can figure out what's in your deck because you can always look in your discard pile. Your discard pile is public information. And so everyone knows what's in my discard pile. I know what's in my hand. And so by process of elimination, I know what's in my deck. It does take out some of the memory work that might be there in the physical game, but that's how it works digitally. All right, so I've got decisions to make here. I really have some decisions to make. Jessica has gone hard into this conflict. Well, all right. I want to show you one of the important aspects of the game, which is the stuff up here in the Landsraad area. So everyone starts with 2 agents, but it's possible to get a 3rd agent, and that's from this Swordmaster space. So Swordmaster costs 8 Solari to go to, but if you go there, then you're going to get an extra agent for the rest of the game, and you can use it that very round. So it's not necessarily like the best play for me to do that right now, but I'm going to aim to get Swordmaster because it's important to understand that this is part of the game. All right, so I only have 5 Solari right now. And if I want the Swordmaster, I'm going to need 8. So where can I get Solari? Well, I could get it by my contract, Deliver Supplies, but I don't have a card to go there. So the only other place I could do it is here at Spice Refinery. All right, so I need to play a card to get there. So I could play either Reconnaissance or I could play Maker Keeper. Now the Maker Keeper does reveal for 2 Persuasion. I think I'm just gonna... I don't think I'm gonna have a lot to do in terms of getting good cards here. I could draw a card off of the Spy. But I'm gonna leave my Spy there for now. Okay, so I'm going to play my Maker Keeper here just to get a Spice. I'm going to decline to gather intelligence, and I'm going to choose to pay my Spice. One thing to note is this guy gave me Spice, right? But that's an agent effect. That happens after you pay the cost of the board space. So luckily, I already have Spice I can use to pay for this. Otherwise, like I wouldn't be able to use the Spice from this guy to pay for this Spice Refinery because the cost has to be paid before you activate any agent effects. But I have Spice, so that's fine. Fade Rotha also gained a Solari because he controls that space. That is the end of my turn. Okay, Fade Rotha used an Intrigue card to get a worm into this conflict. So it's time to talk more about worms. First of all, worms are 3 strength, like I said. So we've got the 2 strength from the troop, plus the 3 strength from the worm is 5 strength. Worms also go straight into the conflict. So he played an Intrigue card. Let's look at the combat log to see what he did here. Where is it? Here. Okay, the order is a little weird. So he played this Intrigue card. He paid 2 water to blow up the shield wall and summon a Sandworm. So a summoned Sandworm goes directly into the conflict. It doesn't go in your garrison. And there it is. But here's the other thing about worms. If you have a worm in the conflict, any worms, whatever combat rewards you get will be doubled. Okay, so let's imagine that Feyd-Rautha gets third in this conflict. That 3 Solari will be doubled to 6. If he gets second in the conflict, he'll get 8 Solari and 2 troops. If he wins first, he'll get 2 Emperor influence. That's what that symbol means. He'll get to place 2 spies onto the board, and he'll get 4 Solari. He'll also get this battle icon. Battle icons are not doubled. It's just a physical thing on the card. That doesn't get doubled. But that's huge, and that's why worms are a big deal in this game. Okay, it's my turn, and I have 1 agent left. And like I said, I want to get this Swordmaster. So I'm going to send my dagger up here. I'm going to pay 8 Solari, and you're going to see another agent pop up into my box here. So I've got another agent. Of course, I can't use it right now. I have to wait till my next turn. But I have 3 agents now for the rest of the game. You'll also notice that the cost now shows 6 instead of 8. That's because in Dune Imperium Uprising, only the first player to get their Swordmaster has to pay full price. After somebody gets it, the cost is reduced to 6 for the rest of the game for everybody else. That is a difference from the original game where it's just always 8. Okay, it's back over to me. I have 1 agent left, and I have these cards as my options. So I could send a reconnaissance to research station here, paying 2 water, getting 2 troops, drawing 2 cards. Or, why does Feyd-Rautha get to be the only one with worms? Okay, I think I want a whole bunch of Solari. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my Smuggler's Harvester here to Haga Basin, and I'm going to summon my own Sandworm. So I'm going to pay my water. I have 2. The Smuggler's Harvester is going to give me a bonus spice because I will have sent an agent to a maker board space. And then when I go here, I'm going to choose either 2 spice or a worm. I'm going to choose the worm. And I'll also get the bonus spice. So the spice that has piled up on the space, you get that regardless of whether you choose worm or spice. So let's go here. So I'm going to go from 2 spice to 4. 1 from this and 1 from that bonus spice. See that? And now I'm choosing, do I want 2 spice or do I want a worm? I'm going to choose a worm, and it goes straight into the conflict there at 3 strength. And I felt like that was a safe move because Amber's already done. She's not in the conflict. I'm going to get 3rd, which is going to give me 6 Solari. So 1 water for, 1 spice and 6 Solari feels pretty good. Okay, I've got nothing else to do. I reveal. And I've got different options here. I could take another Prepare the Way. But I like the looks of this Wheels Within Wheels, not just because it has a cool name and cool art, but it's an Emperor card. So there's our first look at an Emperor card. It's also a Space and Guild card, so it could theoretically combo with my Guild Spy in terms of discarding a Space and Guild card. It's also going to give me bonuses if I have influence with the Emperor or Guild. Currently, I don't have 2 there, so I've got a couple of cards that really want me to get some more influence. But what's interesting about this as well is if I just reveal it, it lets me place a spy onto the board, which I like. And it has a spy icon just like the Guild Spy. So I'm going to take that and turn. All right, so Jessica's going to win this conflict. She's going to get an Emperor influence. She's going to place a spy, 2 Solari, and she's going to get that battle icon there. And here we go. We can see the worm effect is the doubling. So Feyd-Rautha, 8 Solari and 2 troops for me, 6 Solari. Jessica places her spy. So Jessica has 3 combat icons now, and those are all 3. Those are the 3 that you can get. So any combat she wins now will be a victory point, one way or another. Okay. What do I have going on here? Well, Protect the Sieges is the conflict. It's a Desert Mouse, which I don't have, so that's not that big of a deal to me. Fremen influence in water and troops. It'd be great to win this. It's going to be hard, though, because I don't have a garrison, whereas Fade Rotha has 6 troops, Amber has 3. But, I have this Rebel Supplier, and I have this Spy here. So I could use that. I could use that to get 2 troops. I could go here, recall my Spy, and get 2 troops. The problem with that is I kind of wish I had my Spy here, actually, because Arakeen then could have given me 3. And it could have drawn me 2 cards at the same time. So I feel a little bit sad about that, but I kind of think I do need to draw cards. So it's, honestly, it might as well just be... Two troops here, but I draw 1 less card. No, same card. If I go here, it's draw a card and 2 troops. If I go here, it's draw a card and 1 troop. The difference is I have to use my Spy in this case. Well, let's do it. Let's do it. I don't think I'm going to pay for that. I think I'll recall, draw, gather intelligence. Now, I should have to decide whether I'm paying before I gather intelligence here, because that's a cost of the space. It's a bit of a bug in the game. But I am going to recall, and I'm just going to take the 2 Solari there for free. I have 2 troops in my garrison, but I'm not ready to deploy them yet, I don't think. Let's wait and see. Okay, Fade Rotha gets his Swordmaster now. Still have that contract. Okay, Jessica goes to Deep Desert, and she summons 2 worms. So that's the thing. Haga Basin allows you to summon 1 worm. Deep Desert costs 3 water, but you get 2 worms in the conflict. So she's really looking to win this, which is a bit annoying. But what can I do about it? What can I do about it? Well, I could maybe try to win this in a different way. I don't think I can get worms in. I could send a Dune here to Haga Basin and put in 1 worm. I could also put in my 2 troops. That would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strength. But I would be kind of... I mean, she doesn't have any more agents. Problem is Fade Rotha still has 2. I mean, if I can get 2nd place, that's still 6 spice and 2 troops. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Let's do it. Let's do it, because I can get another troop on reveal from the Unswerving Loyalty. So this guy gives me a troop on reveal, but I have the Fremen Bond because I have this Rebel Supplier in play, so I'll actually be able to throw that troop in as well, and I might be able to actually win this. We'll see what Amber does. She goes to Espionage. Okay, so she's not deploying more. I might actually be able to win this, which would be incredible. Jessica reveals 1 sword. She gets an Intrigue card. Okay, so that gets her to 7. That'll get me to 9. I want to talk about what happened with secrets here. So Fade Rotha sent an agent to secrets, and what does secrets do? It draws you an Intrigue card, but the secondary effect is you get to steal an Intrigue card from any other players who have 4 or more in hand. And so Let's go back and see that. He stole an intrigue card from Lady Jessica. Jessica has a mitt full of intrigues, and so having more than 3 intrigue cards in your hand is dangerous because somebody might go to secrets and steal one at random from you. Okay, 1 agent left. I have diplomacy, and I think I might just go to deliver supplies here, get myself a water, and also it's going to get me that guild victory point. Also, it's going to complete this contract of deliver supplies. I don't necessarily need all that Solari, but that's going to be my play. So we'll see this contract get completed. It's a very satisfying effect. So I have no more open contracts, but if I go in here, I can see my completed contracts. And it matters because there are some cards that care how many contracts you've completed. So for example, here, Interstellar Trade, if we look at the reveal, it's going to give you a persuasion for each contract that you have completed. All right, end turn. Feyd-Rautha goes to Arakeen. I have a feeling I might end up losing this contract to Feyd-Rautha. I mean, this conflict. We'll see. Oh, he doesn't deploy. Okay, Amber reveals. She gets 1 sword. She gets up to 7. It's going to be tight with these intrigue cards. She takes a contract. Okay. She just activated a reveal ability. Let's just look at what she did there. So she revealed this In High Places card, which gives you 2 persuasion when you reveal, but it also has this extra reveal ability, which is you can recall 2 spies to get 3 more persuasion. So there's that recall spy thing again. Okay, it's me. I've revealed, and what's going to happen, there's going to be 2 things that happen here. Number 1, I'm going to get a troop, and because I have the Fremen Bond, which means I have another Fremen card in play. In play means the cards I played as agents. Also, it means the cards that I reveal, okay? So that's going to trigger, which means I'll be able to put that other troop in there and get up to 9 and hope it's good enough. Let's deploy. And I have 6 persuasion. So I've got all kinds of options here. I think I'm going to go with this Spacing Guild's Favor because it's a card that can get me to the guild. It draws me a card when I play it, and it has a flexible reveal where I either take I do get 2 persuasion, but I also have the ability to pay Spice for influence, which is really nice. It has that when discarded thing, and that is relevant. For example, if I discard it with my guild spy, which is currently in my hand, or currently been revealed, it's in play, right? That's a Spacing Guild card. So if I discard it, I get an intrigue card from this guy, but I also get Spice from him. So it just seems like an overall good card. I'm going to take it. End turn. And so what's going to happen now is we're going to see if anybody wants to play intrigues. So the sequence is, once everyone has revealed, then we move on to the combat phase, and that gives everybody a chance to play an intrigue card. It starts with whoever has the first player token. So in this case, Jessica will have to decide first, does she have any combat intrigues she wants to play? She could play as many or as few as she wants to. And then when she's done playing combat intrigues, it goes over to me. I'll have an opportunity. I don't have any. Then it will go not to Feyd-Rautha because he doesn't have any units in the conflict. If you want the opportunity to play a combat intrigue, you must have troops in the conflict. Otherwise, you can't play him. Then it will go to Amber, and then it will go back to Jessica. So basically, it just keeps going around until all players have passed in a row. In other words, once all players have decided not to play a combat intrigue, then the round ends, or the combat will resolve. So theoretically, Jessica could play 1 combat intrigue and then see if anybody else plays any. So if she plays 1 and then I pass, then it would go to Amber. If she passes, it would go back to Jessica and she could play another one. Why is that? Because everyone has to pass. And in this case, Jessica didn't pass. She played an intrigue initially. All right, so let's see what happens here. Feyd-Rautha is going to reveal. Does he activate his Spacing Guild's Favor? Okay, so Jessica does play a combat intrigue. I can't, so it just passes me because I don't have any. Amber passed, and so that's going to be it. Jessica had another chance, and she passed. Game over. I don't win after all. But I do get the double reward. So Jessica is going to get double Fremen influence, 2 water, and 2 troops. She also gets the Desert Mouse. So that's going to be a combat match. And she's going to jump up here and she's going to take the Fremen Alliance. Oh, I really had my eye on that. But she got there first. All right, so this is the first alliance of the game. Whoever crosses that 4 influence mark first takes the alliance and gets a victory point. What also happens is anytime you cross that line, you're going to get the reward on the left. And that's independent of the alliance. So Jessica got up there. She got a water. If I go up here, I'll get the water even though the alliance is gone. I would have to pass Jessica to take the alliance. Okay, well, I am sad about that, but it's not a total surprise. All right, so I'm first to act in this round. Now let's take a look at this conflict. Look at this conflict here. Okay, we've got a victory point, and we also got the ability to pay 6 Solari for a victory point. So round 7 is when the conflicts start to get crazy. There's 3 levels of conflict in the game. Round 1 will be a level 1 conflict. It's relatively weak. Rounds 2 through 6 will be level 2 conflicts, and they are kind of medium strength. And then round 7, 8, 9, and 10 are going to be level 3 conflicts, and they typically have pretty massive rewards, usually with victory points. Okay, I've got Signet Ring, I've got Maker Keeper, 1 convincing argument, a dagger, and a reconnaissance. What should I do? Well, I've got a lot of spice, a lot of Solari, a water, I've got spies. Oh, man. I'd love to get that alliance. It's not really going to happen, is it? I could go summon a worm and maybe get even more spice. I really kind of want to draw cards, I think. I feel like I need cards to do anything interesting this round. And so my options are Arakeen to draw 1 or Accept Contract to draw 1. Now I could go to Accept Contract first and take the Arakeen contract, and then maybe I go to Arakeen later and I get another water. Let's try that. Let's see if that works. So I've got to send my ring up here to do that. So I get to choose the order here. I'll draw my card first. It might influence what contract I want to take. I got Wheels Within Wheels. Unfortunately, yeah, not great. Okay, we'll take the Arakeen one. And we'll see what happens there. So this guy's probably going to be used on reveal because I don't have any spies on the board, which means he can't be sent anywhere. But placing a spy on reveal is nice. Jessica goes to Desert Tactics, so she is reinforcing that Fremen alliance there. Okay, so Arakeen is open. That's nice for me. Now the question is, do I want to play this guy? And that will get me another spice. Or would I rather keep him for persuasion, potentially? I think I want to keep him for persuasion. So I'm going to play a reconnaissance to Arakeen. That's going to draw me 1 card, get me a troop, and it's going to complete this Arakeen contract and give me a water. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. Now, unfortunately, I won't be able to play him to the Fremen spots. I don't have any spies there, but look at the reveal, 2 persuasion and 3 swords. That's going to give me an opportunity here in this conflict. So I'm deciding whether or not to deploy troops. Let's throw in 2 for now. I could put in 3, but the thing is, 2 is kind of just as good, because 3 is not going to win me this conflict, right? I'm going to have to get in there and deploy more in order to have a chance. And if I do go to another combat space, I can deploy those 2 from my garrison at that point. So we'll put in 2 for now and end the turn. Okay, now that is a very unfortunate situation. However, I do have Research Station available to me. So here are my options. Okay, Fade Rotha has deployed a lot. He's got 12 strength. Can I beat him? Well, if I go to Research Station, that gives me 2 more troops plus these 2 troops. So that's 4, 8, 12, 13, 16. Maybe that's good enough. The problem is he still has another agent. And he's Fade Rotha, and he's got 3 Intrigue cards. But I'd love to win this because I have the Solari to pay. My other option is I just kind of let it go, and I play my dagger somewhere. Okay. What's in my deck here? Dune the Desert Planet, Prepare the Way, Smuggler's Harvester. Let me do the math again. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And then I'd reveal for 13, 16. But the problem is, he has an agent. He could go here, and he could deploy 3 troops and beat me. He could go to either of these spots, deploy troops and beat me. In fact, he might go to a worm spot and really double up here. Yeah, I don't think I can win the conflict. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you another important thing up in the Landsraad, and that is the High Council. So High Council costs 5 Solari to visit, and when you go there, you're going to get your High Council seat. So you're going to put a little token on this thing, and that means for the rest of the game, whenever you reveal, you're going to get an extra 2 persuasion. And so that's really helpful for getting better cards, and it's really important for getting Spice Must Flow. So I'm going to send my dagger up here. I'm going to pay 5 Solari, and now I have a High Council seat. And that is going to help me buy a Spice Must Flow, which is worth a victory point. So we'll end turn here. We'll be sad about this conflict, but it just wasn't going to happen, unfortunately. If I'm lucky, I'll get 3rd and get some spice out of it, but I might end up getting nothing. All right, looks like I might get something after all. Lady Amber goes to Espionage, so she's not deploying. She is maxed out Bene Gesserit influence, which means there's no way for anyone to get that alliance unless she, loses influence on her own accord. Okay, there's a chance I get 2nd here. Anyway, it's time to reveal. So what's going to happen on reveal? Well, I'm going to get 2 persuasion here, 2 persuasion here. I'm going to get 1 persuasion here, and I'll be able to place a spy. I will also get 2 persuasion and 3 swords here. So I'll get up to 7 strength. Maybe that's enough to edge out Jessica. Maybe not. It also means that I will get another persuasion, because when I reveal, I'll have the 6 strength here, because this is going to add to it. So I should get up to 10 persuasion, and I do. And so I'm going to buy a Spice Must Flow. So we're going to see I'm going to get a victory point as soon as I buy it. It goes into my discard pile, just like every other card. And I'm going to place a spy. Where should I place the spy? Where should I place the spy here? Now, notice that I can't place it where there's already a spy. So I can't put it on Haga Basin here, which could be nice because that's a place where I can summon worms, but I can't do it. I could put it on Deep Desert, which is kind of interesting, but I also have to think about this Rebel supplier that I might want to trigger. I also have to think about where might I want to send the guild spy. I'm going to put it on Bene Gesserit. And do I want to buy Space-Time Folding? I mean, that's another guild card. Kind of interesting. Discard a card to draw a card on agent. If I discarded a Space and Guild card, draw another card. Do I want that? You know what? I'm going to take it. Notice that Spice Must Flow is also a guild card, so that can be discarded to trigger those bonuses as well. Okay, so I've got 7 strength. The question is Jessica going to beat that? I have a feeling she probably will. If she reveals any swords or if she has any combat intrigues. We'll see. There's one dagger. Okay, so what might happen is we might tie, and I haven't talked about ties yet, so let me talk about that. What's going to happen is if we tie, we both get the lower reward. Okay, so we both tied for second, which means we both are actually going to end up with third here. Okay, so that's how ties work, is all the tied players get the reward lower. All right, we're up to our next combat, and that is propaganda. I'm last to play this round. Vaderotha gets a point with the Emperor. He goes up to 7. So we're getting close to the end of the game here. Remember, the game ends if anybody has 10 points at the end of the round. In other words, after the conflict is all resolved, you check to see if anybody is at 10 or above. If so, game over. Okay, it's over to me. So let me talk more about ties in the conflict, just because it's a little weird. So, for example, if players are tied for first, then all those players would get second instead. And if there had been someone who was in second place, they would get third instead. And what can happen is people can get bumped straight out of the conflict. Okay. Signet Ring generates me a troop. This would be a great conflict for me to win. You know, it might be time for me to get 2 worms into this conflict. That would require 3 water, which I can do, because if I send my ring to Siege Tabor, then I get a couple of troops. I get the water here, and I could then set up for Deep Desert later. Something that I didn't talk about at the time was, what is this shield wall all about? And it sort of happened in an order that wasn't ideal for explaining it, but basically worms can't be summoned to certain conflicts. So if we look back here, this yellow conflict, that means if the shield wall is still there, the worms can't be summoned. And so basically these 3 spots here, Imperial Basin, Arakeen, and Spice Refinery, they exist kind of inside this like mountain range. That means worms can't ride in there because there's just mountains blocking, okay? And so that's represented in the game by these yellow conflicts. And so if the conflict is one of these, and it's got like a special border on it, and it would also normally have a little icon here with a worm with an X, which is reminding you, you can't summon worms into those conflicts. You just can't. Doesn't matter if you have hooks, doesn't matter if you go to the space, you just can't summon them. But if somebody blows up the shield wall, then that means for the rest of the game, worms can be summoned. And so that's the secondary function here of Siege Tabor, is blowing up that wall so that worms can get in on the conflicts. That was blown up long ago, and so it's been a free-for-all for worms for most of this game. All right, well, let's do this. So there's no reason to choose this option because the wall is already blown up. I already have hooks, but this gives me a troop. So we'll do that. And we're just going to throw in... Well, we'll just throw in 2 for now. Same logic as last time. You know, I can always deploy more later if I want to. So propaganda here is choose 2 of those. You're going to get influence with 2 factions of your choice. You can't choose the same one twice. Now, what is this question mark battle icon? This is called a wild battle icon. And what that means is it will match with any unmatched battle icons you have, but it happens at the end of the game. It doesn't happen immediately. So this will basically just sit in your supply, and then when the game ends, again, if somebody has 10 or more points at the end of a round, or after 10 rounds, then you're going to see if you have any unmatched icons, you'll match it, and you get a point at that time. So it's very nice to have. Now, unfortunately for me, I don't have any battle icons, so that's not really worth anything for me. But I could certainly use the influence. All right. So I could go get the worms in there now, but I don't really need to because nobody else has 3 water, so no one else can get in there. So I could do something else first. What else might I like to do? Well, my options really are just Arakeen for another troop and a card. Or I could go up here to Assembly Hall, which gives me an Intrigue card and an extra Persuasion at the end of the round. That's not thrilling. Now, unfortunately, I don't have this agent ability activated on Prepare the Way. That says if I have 2 Bene Gesserit influence, I draw a card. And I really wish I'd taken that earlier, because this Fremen one ended up being wasted as well. So that was unfortunately a pretty bad play from me, it turns out. But it is what it is, and that's how you learn this game, is you're going to suffer from your errors. Another option I do have is I could go up here to shipping. So we've talked about how Siege Tabor requires 2 Fremen influence to visit. Well, there are other spaces that require faction influence. Shipping is one of them. You need 2 guild influence to get up here. And you can go there, pay 3 spice, get 5 Solari, and an influence of your choice. So that could help me get an influence here, which is all right. But what I really want is to win this conflict. So I think I'm going to go to Arakeen. And I'm going to do that. By the way, there's this Imperial privilege that is only visitable if you have 2 Emperor influence. And what that does is you pay 3 Solari to go there. If you want to, you can trash an Intrigue card from your hand to get a different Intrigue card. Then you're also going to draw a card. And then you're going to recall an agent. This little recall symbol means take another agent off the board back to your supply. It can't be the same agent you used to go here. So you'd have to go somewhere else first, then go to Imperial Privilege and take that other agent off the board. So it's kind of like a free action in a way. It costs you Solari, but it can help you kind of, get a better card into your hand. It can help you improve your intrigues, and it can also help you go later in the round, which gives you a chance to see what everybody else does before you decide what to do. The Bene Gesserit doesn't have a space on the board. Instead, this Prepare the Way acts as that. All right, so it's going to be Arakeen. So we're going to go here, and we're doing that because it gives me more opportunity to get troops in. Again, it's just going to be 1. I'm going to hold off because I'm going to probably put them in when I go to Deep Desert here. Okay, I drew the Guild Spy. All right, Feyd-Rautha goes to deliver supplies. He doesn't deploy more. Amber goes to accept contract, so she doesn't deploy more. Everybody else is out of agents. It's looking pretty good for me here. Jessica reveals 2 swords. She also gets an Intrigue card on reveal from this treacherous maneuver. Okay. So I'm definitely going to Deep Desert here. I'm going to throw 2 worms into the conflict as well as my troops. I'm going to try to win this, and I'm going to get this reward twice, which means I can choose 2 influence of, whichever 2 I want. Then I can do it again. So let's do it. I'm going to use this Harvester because that gets me a bonus spice as well. So I've got quite a bit of spice here. I'm choosing the worms option. In they go. And in these go as well, because I really need to win this, and I'm worried about Feyd-Rautha. I might still not win it, but I'm going to try. Okay, it's back over to me. I'm going to reveal. I'm going to get 1 extra persuasion because I'm Gurney Halleck and I have a lot of strength in the conflict. I'm also going to get 1 spice from my Spice Must Flow. Note that if you trash a Spice Must Flow, you don't lose the victory point, right? Because the victory point was gained when I bought the card. And those effects just happen when they happen. You never have to give them back later. Just like when I bought the spy, I placed a spy on the board. It's not like if I trash the guild spy, I've got to somehow take a spy off the board, right? So sometimes getting rid of Spice Must Flow can be good. But anyway, it's going to give me a spice on reveal. I've got so much spice, good lord. And I'm going to go up to 6 persuasion. Now, Guild Spy has this extra ability I haven't talked about, which is it gives you 2 persuasion on reveal. And then if you acquire the Spice Must Flow this turn, gain 1 influence with each faction you're spying on. Now, currently I'm spying on Bene Gesserit, so if I could somehow buy a Spice Must Flow, It would also give me an influence here, which would be great. But unfortunately, I can't do it. All right, so I have 6 persuasion, and my options are here. Double Agent, Smuggler's Haven, Public Spectacle, Reliable Informant, Mala Pistol. Well, I've got so much spice. This seems great. If I can draw this card, you know, which I probably won't because I've got 13 cards in my deck, so it's going to take a while. But, you know, just buying a victory point seems pretty good considering I've got so much spice right now, if I ever see that card. I'm going to pass on everything else here. All right, so I win the conflict. Cheers to that. So I've got doubling of this reward. All right, so I get to do it once, and then I'll get to do it again. Well, I think it's about time I get that Bene Gesserit influence, you know? So let's do that. And Freeman is a lost cause. Like, I could theoretically try to get up there, but Jessica's going to be going before me this round, and she could potentially lock it up. So we're going to not do that. So Bene Gesserit. And then maybe let's go for this guild alliance. So we'll take a guild influence there. Gets me to 7 points. All right, I get to do it again. And Emperor and Guild. Let's do that. All right, so that gets me to 8 points, and that gets me 3 Solari from that reward there. So that's good. We're over to round 9 now. Now, normally games don't go this long. Typically, a game ends round 7. But for multiple reasons, it's going long. One is the AIs are not that great. And also, I am not playing a strategic game really at all. Also, I'm still learning how the strategy works in Uprising. But, you know, I'm focused on showing you stuff rather than, like, necessarily optimizing to win. So don't expect games to go this long normally. But if you're all new players, it could happen. Okay. It's my turn. And it's a battle for Imperial Basin. Now, any combat icon I could get would be a victory point at the end of the game for me. However, is there a way for me to win this? Looking pretty doubtful. I could go to Hayliner, which costs 5 spice. I've got the spice for it. That generates 5 troops, and that's a combat space. So those 5 troops can immediately go in. The problem there is it's 10 strength, and Amber already has 10 strength. So what can I do here? What can I do here? I'd like to draw cards, but my options are pretty limited. I could go to Fremkit with this Long Live the Fighters. That would draw me a card there. And then I have this extra ability. If your deck has 3 or more cards, which it does, look at the top 3, draw 1, discard 1, and trash 1. So I get my choice of those 3. Which one do I want to put in my hand? Which is pretty interesting. So it's a draw 1, and I can do that in whichever order I want, although I don't know that it makes a difference. I could also draw up here. Another thing I could do would be send my Spacing Guild's Favor up here. That would draw me a card. Let's do this just to see how it works. All right. So I'll get my Freeman influence. That's going to give me a water. So again, even though the alliance is gone, anytime you cross that line, you're going to get that water. If later somehow I dropped below this, I don't have to give the water back. But if I go back up again, I'd get another water. Okay, let's draw first. And okay, that's interesting. Now let's look at the top 3 cards. Okay, which one do I want in my hand? Well, I think it's probably the Maker Keeper because it's 2 persuasion. And I'm probably going to be looking to buy a Spice Must Flow this round. So let's take that. And then I'll discard one and trash the other. Okay, let's discard that one. And then the Dune will be trashed. Goodbye to you. Okay, that seems pretty good. So it's not bad, right? Because, you know, I wasn't really going to be able to get into this conflict, but buying a Spice Must Flow is a point. And I might be able to get another point as well. I could send my diplomacy. Oh, I might be able to take this Fremen Alliance back. I might be able to steal this Fremen Alliance back. Let's see what Jessica does here. She goes to Desert Tactics. Oh! I was thinking about it. If I go to Desert Tactics and go up 1, then I could have taken the other one when I revealed this. Not an option. Okay. Okay. So where can I find victory points? Well, one is going to be from Spice Must Flow, but another one could be from Emperor here. If I get that influence, that brings me to 9. And then when I reveal, I get a Spice Must Flow that gets me to 10. And that's looking pretty good. I'm trying to see if there's a way I could also get that alliance. I don't think there is. I don't think there is. Yeah. So let's do this. That's going to get me an intrigue card. It's going to generate 4 troops, but note that this is not a combat space, and so I cannot put troops into the conflict here. They're just going to sit in my garrison. Okay, the intrigue card I drew. I'm glad I drew this one. This is a blue card. This is an endgame card. This means you cannot play this card. It just sits in your hand until the end of the game, at which point it might do something. So this one says if you have completed 4 or more contracts, it gives you a victory point at the end of the game. Well, I've completed only 2 contracts, so unfortunately, that is not going to help me. All right, but I got that Emperor point, which is great. I'll end turn. Bade Rotha goes to Hayliner. That's going to get him a victory point with the guild. That gets him up to 8. And he goes into this conflict. If he wins this conflict, he gets 1 victory point up to 9. He'll be able to buy a second one and get up to 10. So, I don't know here. Luckily, that's not an icon match for him. Okay, is there anything else here that is worth doing for me? I need to make sure I stay at enough persuasion to get a Spice Must Flow. Okay, well, I could play the Rebel Supplier if I wanted to, because she doesn't give me persuasion anyway. Then I could get 3 troops into the conflict and then get an extra persuasion. The problem is I'm still not going to get any spice here. And the tiebreaker in the game, at the end of the game, if players have the same number of victory points, then the tiebreaker is how much spice do you have? And this does give me spice on reveal. So I think it makes sense for me to just reveal now instead. So I haven't talked about this, but you can actually early reveal. Even though I have an agent left and I have cards I could send to the board, I don't have to do it. I could just decide I'm going to reveal, show my cards, buy cards, and that's it. My round is over. I no longer have the ability to play that agent. I've just sacrificed that agent for the round, basically. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't think there's anything else really worth doing for me here. I really wish I could somehow get that Emperor Alliance, but I just don't see a way to do it. I've got this ability to get influence on reveal here, but, you know, getting to here doesn't do anything. Nothing really helps there. So we'll just reveal. It's going to ask me, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. We'll buy a Spice Must Flow, getting up to 10. And I'm trying to decide if is there an alliance I need to protect? Not really. I don't think anyone can do anything about it. So I'll just keep my spice for tiebreaker. End turn. I'm done for the game. And now we're going to have to see what happens here. Okay, Feyd-Rautha gets some more troops in. It's looking pretty good for him to win. So the good news is if he ends at 10 and I end at 10, I will win on the Spice Tiebreaker. Amber buys a Spice Must Flow, gets up to 8. If Amber wins, she'll get up to 10 as well. Oh no, he gets a Spice Must Flow! So I really hope Amber can somehow win this. Oh no. All right, so I'm going to lose the game, unfortunately. Feyd-Rautha is going to get 2 victory points here, and he's going to end the game at 11. So notice the game doesn't end as soon as someone hits 10. It ends at the end of the round if someone has 10 or more. So we're going to resolve the conflict, and then we're going to check, and that's going to be the end of the game. All right, here we go. So sad. Feyd-Rautha wins the conflict, gets up to 11 victory points, and now we check all the end games. And that is the end of the game. Feyd-Rautha, congratulations for winning this tutorial game. I came in second. It was a close game. Amber and Jessica. So Amber came third because she had 1 more spice than Jessica. If the spice is also tied, then the second tiebreaker is Solari. If the Solari is also tied, the third tiebreaker is water. If the water is also tied, then the next tiebreaker is how many troops do you have in your garrison? If that is also tied, the final tiebreaker is whoever was the last one to reveal in that round wins the game. And there can be no tie for that. So that's how the tiebreakers work. That is how Dune Imperium Uprising works. A few final things here that I didn't explain in the game. Let me just go through it right now. So High Council, I talked about how when you go to High Council seat, that means you're going to get 2 persuasion during your reveal for the rest of the game. But High Council can actually be visited again. And so this bottom part here where it shows 2 spice, an intrigue card, and 3 troops, that's what you get if you visit the High Council seat while already having a High Council seat. So if you go to High Council when you already have the seat, you get that reward. And so that's something you can do. It's not a very common thing, but it is something that can be done. Is there anything else here that I did not explain? I don't think so. Of course, I didn't explain every leader in the game. You know, it would just take too long to explain every single leader and how they work. And basically this video is just to get you comfortable with how the game plays, how the rules, the intrigue cards, the symbols on all of the spaces. And I think we covered all of that. But if there's something I missed, please let me know, and I'll be happy to answer in the comments. I really hope this was helpful for you. I hope this was a fun way to learn. I know it's long, but some people like to learn from playthroughs and kind of get it in digestible bits. So hopefully that was fun for you. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. You can watch me play Dune Imperium live Sundays, 9 a.m. Eastern time, as well as lots of other times. You can join my Discord to chat about the game, to organize games, and to learn about news about Dune and about the channel. You can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/bludgeon. I've got lots of videos on the channel talking about Dune Imperium strategy, leader rankings, card rankings. My rankings are more about what I like. It's not like a tier list exactly. And you can watch tons of gameplay. Now, Dune Imperium Uprising, as I record this video, has just come out. And so at this time, I don't have a ton of gameplay, but that's coming fast and furious. And if you're watching this down the line, I'm sure there's already stuff there. So feel free to check that out. I hope you enjoyed this. If you would like to get extra exclusive content and to support the channel, you can also become a channel member by clicking the join button down below here. And that gets you stream VODs, exclusive videos, and all kinds of other stuff. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye. Special thanks to my alliances, Nico Toso, The Separoni, Lee Martinez, and Philippe Utkovich.